Hello, welcome back. It's Pauline again from PQW with another episode in our Exquisite Quilt program. So this is episode 13 and it gets very exciting because we're making different sashings this time and we're going to be creating them from the Sasha templates. Now these are very, very different to normal templates in the fact that when we make our sashings, as you've been watching in the last couple of episodes, we need to turn the edges back in under so we don't have raw edges when we join our blocks together. Now, when we designed these templates, we've calculated all of the measurements for the turnbacks in the template. So all you need to know is what your finished size is going to be. Everything else is added to the template. So we've tried to make it as easy as we possibly can for you. But if you haven't already, please make sure you download your layout sheet. This is what you're going to need when you start to put it together. As I said in the one of the other episodes, we'll be very soon starting to join all of our blocks together into units and then join the units together into a whole quilt. So you'll need this layout sheet so that it'll help you get everything in the position that you want it in. Also, don't forget to download all your notes that I've put together for you, because in the notes you're going to get very descriptive graphics of how to measurements, how the tools work, all the things you need to know. So click on the link below, make sure you download those notes. Please tell all your friends to join in this Exquisite Quilt program. It's there for you forever and a day. So if you finish your quilt and somebody likes your quilt, you can direct them back to our YouTube channel where they can start right from the beginning, download their instructions and their notes and start making beautiful quilts. So I have all my templates here from that pack. We're going to go through and we're going to use all of these, and I'm going to show you how to make the different sashings. But I'm not going to do any sewing. I'm going to explain things to you. So in the previous episode, episode 12, that's where you'll see all my hints and tips on the sewing machine. So do go back and watch that, because there'll be lots of little tips in there of how I sew units together once I've used the templates to cut out with. I am going to use the rotating mat because cutting around the templates makes it very easy with a rotating mat. I am going to use the 18mm rotary cutter because that's very easy to cut around the template, which we'll do all of that in this lesson. So I'll put these aside. Now, the first thing we're going to start with, we're going to use this little, what do we call it, for a square? We're going to do like a checkerboard, a double checkerboard sashing. And like you might look at the templates and you'll see that you're going to see the 1/4-inch seam all the way around on 3 sides, but you're not going to have it on this side. We don't need it there. So don't think there's something wrong with the template. Like when we get to using this one, we've only got the seam allowance around 3 sides. We don't need it down this side. And that'll all be explained as we go through all the process of making these. So now, when I use any of the templates, no matter what it is, whichever one it's going to be, I recommend that you measure the width of the template. Then cut a strip that width. Say working with big big bulky bits of fabric, it's easier to work with a measurement. So this rectangle we're going to work with is 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut a strip of fabric off here, and I'm going to fold the fabric because I like to fold fabric and have a nice short cut. I'm going to use the little ruler. I'm going to put this down, put it to my 2 1/4-inch measurement, and you can always put your template on there and see that it's right. You know, you might be able to cut a strip of fabric and just cut it up into the sections you want. You can do that with the rectangles and the squares, but sometimes they can be a little bit of an odd measurement. But certainly when we start using the triangles and things, you won't be able to just cut a strip and then do your thing with it, because the measurement in these are so different to a normal template. So we'll start right from the beginning by cutting the strip. And then once we've cut the strip, we're just going to put the template on it Just get rid of all of these. Template on here. Which way will I go? And then all we're going to do is cut. Okay, now with the templates, we realise that templates can slip as you're cutting around them. So when we designed these, I've made sure that we've put non-slip grips built into the template. Now these won't wear out. I don't know if you can hear that noise. That is a rough surface that we've built into the template. So that put that surface down onto the cutting mat, and when you're cutting, you're not going to worry about that slipping. Just makes it really, really easy for you. So to do your rectangles, in your notes it will tell you how many of what colour to cut. Once you've cut them, you're going to use a 1/4 inch seam and seam the white and one of your other colours together. We'll go through we went through the pressing in the last episode, so go back and watch that. Press your seams. I'm just going to finger press this. And then we're going to just simply, I'll get a different colour. We're just going to simply go through and piece these together. Just simply sew your 1/4 inch seam. Make as many of these as you need to for the length of your blocks. Join them up like so. Press the seams like we instructed you in the last episode. Once you've got those done, we'll make 2 sets. We're then going to offset them. So you may like to work with your colours, like I wouldn't like to put these 2 colours together. If I turn it around this way, I've got 2 blues here, which I don't want, but I could drop that down. And what we're going to do, like we showed you in the last episode, align your seams, pin with the double fork pin, but as you go back and watch the last episode, you'll see me at the machine seaming up pieces like this so we can get these points matching perfectly. So it's all in the pressing and the accurate cutting to allow these to come back just perfect first time. Don't want you doing that reverse sewing. We want you to learn how this is so easy. So we're going to sew those together into 2 strips as long as they need to be. This measures 4 inches. Exactly 4 inches. Then you're going to put that through the 2-inch sasher tool. Then you're going to fill that with wadding, and then you have a beautiful sashing. Oops, wrong side up. You've got a beautiful sashing ready for your quilt. So I've filled this one already with the batting. You can see where the turnbacks come to the back. This now is exactly 1 inch square on each side. It measures exactly 2 inches, ready to put between the blocks when we start joining the blocks together. So that's just a checkerboard sashing. These could all be the same colour if you wish to, if you don't want to do multiple colours. Brilliant sashing for using up your scraps. And I know you'll have lots of little pieces left over from everything else we've been doing. So that's our checkerboard. Now, the next thing we're going to work on is making a star in our sashings. And I love making these sashings. And as I show people this, they get very excited about it. So for the star, we're going to use the 2-inch square, and we're going to use the rectangle. Now, this rectangle has only got seam allowance top and bottom. It has not got it at the sides. We don't need it there. So they're the 2 templates, and you can notice that there is a 1/4 inch difference between the square and the rectangle. That's the way it's supposed to be. Don't think there's a mistake there. When we do normal patchwork, our measurements all work together, but when we do Quilt As You Go, they don't have to. So just remember that is perfectly normal. Don't try and change it. So we're going to cut out strips 4 inches wide of our sashing fabric. So this is the fabric we want to use for our sashings. So I've cut this 4 inches wide, and I always cut a bit longer than what the block finish measurement's going to be. So if this is going to fit between an 11-inch block, I've probably cut this 11.5. Cut out as many of those as the instructions tell us. Then we're going to use this template, and we're going to cut out just normal squares, cutting around the template. It'll tell you how many in the instructions. Then we're going to put this on our template, and we're going to use the fabric marking pen, and I'm going to use the white lead because I've just get my white lead out. I'm going to, oops, I've lost my the wrong pencil is here. Sorry, George, I'm going to have to cut.
Oh, you're right.
I had my see it. So there's my stitching line. So go through and mark up all of these. I've got the rest of these marked. I'm then going to go to my sewing machine. We're going to put this on here, and we're going to sew on this line. I find that it depends on the thickness of the thread that you're using. So a little suggestion, as I made in the last episode, don't sew right on the line, sew right off on this side of the line, the side of the line that's facing to the edge of your piece. So right on this edge, not in the middle, because your thickness of your thread can make a big difference to the turn back. So I find that if I sew just on that side of that white line, it turns back perfectly. So we're going to stitch this line. Once we stitch that line, here we are, we've got it stitched. There's my stitching line. I then come back and I'm going to fold the white bit back out of the road, right back underneath. Finger press that, then use your little ruler, and we're going to put the line on the ruler, the 1/4 inch line of the ruler, right on the stitching line, and we're going to trim that back. We're not taking the white off. I want to leave the white there so that I know I've got a perfectly square corner. Finger press that, then you'll grab another square. You're going to put that over this side. You're going to stitch down there, flip the white back and trim it, as we will do here. Flip this back. Just finger press that out of the road so it's not going to get caught when you cut across there. 1/4 inch line on your stitching line. Take it off. Press it back, finger press. Then you've got this star point with your exact 1/4 inch for when we seam this into our sashing. So just follow those little tips. Once we get these made, you'll be making 4 of these. Once you get 2 of them made, we're going to put 2 of them through the 2-inch sasher tool. Then we'll cut our piece of batting, 1 7/8, and we're going to lay it inside the sashing. So there we have a 2-inch sashing with the star points. So we're going to do 1 of those and 1 for this side. So this would be 2 blocks here, 2 blocks here. Then we're going to make up 2 more of these. Once we get 2 more made, we're going to use the rectangle template. We're going to cut around and we're going to create the rectangle. That rectangle then is placed onto this one. We're going to stitch across here. So I always have the sashing side facing up to me, and we're going to sew our 1/4 inch seam across here and cross right on that X mark. Once we've done that, that will be 1 there. We'll then put another one on this side. We'll put that whole piece through the 2-inch sasher tool, put the batting in it, and there we have our other section of the star. And when we start to put our quilts together, look at the beautiful stars you're going to create in your sashings. Now you can make a whole quilt up using these stars in your sashings. I love the stars. Makes it very, very easy, but we are going to be putting this into your quilt, so get those made ready. Work with all the measurements I've given you. If you think your blocks might be turning out a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger than my instructions, allow for that in your cutting out when you're cutting. So that's the stars. Now what's next? Let's do some triangle sashing. So when we do our triangles, we're simply going to use this template. So we're going to cut white and the opposing colours. So excuse me, you know my quilt's all out of blue and white, so I'm going to do a variety of different blues and a lot of whites. Now, a little tip when we're cutting these out. Once again, work with the width of your fabric. Now, if you're using a fabric where it is one-sided, make sure you've got your angle going the right way. And I'll explain that a bit more in that last lesson when we get to the sewing, and you'll see exactly what I mean. But when we cut out around these, oops, turn it around the right way, just a little tip on cutting this out. We'll come to this piece of fabric. Measure this, and it is measuring 3 1/4. So this is only 2 1/2, this little ruler that I've got here. So I'll measure my 3 1/4, and you may want to use a bigger ruler, but this is the only one I've got available at the moment. And cut across. So you've got your strip cut. Now this is where the rotating mat comes in handy. Oops, I measured that wrong, sorry. I should have measured this measurement. That's silly of me, rushing things. So it's only 2 1/2. So let's readjust that. So see, everybody can make mistakes. So we'll do this 2 1/2. That is the width of the ruler. So 2 1/2. You can leave the fabric folded, but I wouldn't suggest that if you're using the templates for the first time. Use it as a single piece. Pop your template on there. Now, coming around these edges here can be a little bit tricky, and that's why I suggest you use the small rotary cutter. I find the 45mm blade is a little bit difficult on these corners. So hold your template. When you get to cut along this edge, cut, rock your blade. Just rock it. When you come up this angle, rock the blade. I'm not rolling the blade on that angle, I just rocked it, and then we cut along here. That way, by rocking the blade on the corners, you're not getting any of those loose threads. So now if I want to cut this one, turn it around, rotate the board, and exactly the same. Cut, rock, cut, rotate, cut. So it's a very simple step. So you're going to do so many of these and so many of white. So here we have the white. So this is where if you've got a colour, a fabric that is printed on one side, and then you can definitely see that it's, on the back it's a different look, you want these angles going in opposites so that they sew together. So we're just simply going to lay these down. They meet exactly, and you're going to sew your 1/4 inch seam. So go through and make a lot of those. Then once we've got them sewn, press your stitching line, fold this out and press to the dark. So what we've created is rectangles. Okay, from that template we've created rectangles. This is measuring our 4 inches, the way we need it to measure. We're going to then piece all of these rectangles together. So with this one, I will just put it face down. The only thing you have to match here is your 2 ends, so you may like to pin it, but there's other hints and tips in that previous lesson. Press that, press all your seams in one direction. Then you're going to put this through the sasher tool. So you're simply going to press back, press the first couple of little bits, because you want to fold back right to that point, like we did with the flying geese yesterday. Have a look at how we did that. Put this through. Once you've put it through, you'll cut your batting 2 7/8, and you'll make up your whole row of triangles. And you get triangles that look like a normal triangle, and unbeknownst to anybody else, they won't know that there's a turn back on the back. It does take a little bit more fabric, but the joy of this is you're quilting your own blocks, you're joining your quilt together, and you're in control of everything. So I know you can do it, and I love making the triangles because a lot of quilts have triangles in the sashing. So that's how we do those. So there's another form of triangles that we can do, and this one is our side-by-side triangles. So using the same template, cutting them exactly the same way, seaming them the same way. The only thing we have to do when we're doing this is we have to mirror image two of the one colour. So by that, when we're cutting out, we've got to have this blue going one way, so I've used that template there. When I've cut this one, we've had to turn the template, oops, which way? We've turned the fabric upside down to cut that one. So you can see there now I'm forming this V. We're going to piece these together. I've pressed one seam to the light and one seam to the dark. That way those two seams are going to nest together. Pin them with the fork pin and seam down there, and then you have your triangle. Then you're just going to join them together side by side. It's measuring 4 inches. You'll put this through the 2-inch sasher. It will turn you back right to the points, right to the points. So I'd have a row of these done, put it through the sasher tool, then you've got your beautiful triangles running this way. So simply by flipping your fabric to the wrong side, you're getting a mirror image. You can flip the template, but you won't have the rough edge on the underside. So whichever way you want to go, you might be able to fold your fabric, like fold it in and in, so that you're getting the mirror image when you cut around it and cut to it at once. That's entirely up to you. So then the last one we've got for you in this episode, this can scare you. This is a little bit fiddly. Look at these. Aren't they cute? Mini flying geese. They're a little bit trickier, but hopefully by now, with all of the things you've been learning, you'll be up to this stage. So when we do these ones, out of that template set, we've got this little triangle, we've got this little add-on piece. So once again, when you're cutting around these, cut your strip of fabric to the width you need it to be. Okay, this strip's a little bit too wide, but we'll work with that. Just to show you that when we come around here, and you really, I think, will see the benefit of this little cutter, we're going to rock, rock, cut. Okay, you can see how easy that come away. Cut, rotate, down we go, rock and rock. So then, oops, I didn't rock far enough there. So then we don't have those little threads. I just didn't rock far enough. But it's really easy to cut around those shapes. So once we cut around those, we then will join. This is my part of the flying geese. We're going to join this piece on with our 1/4-inch seam. We're going to press out to the light. I find that it suits much better pressing out to the light. Then we'll come back and we'll put another piece on this edge. You may like to pin these, but what we're wanting you to do, and you'll notice this when we go to the sewing machine in that lesson, these edges should be lining up and this edge should be lining up. So as I sew across here, when I get it completed, I will have, here's one, I will have that perfect 1/4-inch point. So it's just a little bit fiddlier, but I know you can do it. So once we get those made, we're simply going to come back, put these on top of each other. We're now going to sew right through with our 1/4-inch seam right through here. We're going to cross right on that X mark. X marks the spot of a perfect point. We'll stitch right across there, fold them out and press them. Put it through the 2-inch sasher tool with your wadding. After you've put it through the tool, open it out, put your 1 7/8 inch wadding inside, and I'll show you what it looks like inside here. You can see what it all looks like. Sometimes I forget to cut off some of my threads, and sometimes our fabric goes a bit hairy, but just try and cut off as many threads, particularly if you're using a light colour fabric. You don't want the thread shining through. Make sure you clean threads off your batting, particularly if you're using a light coloured fabric. Put this back in here, press with that hot iron. Oops, just need to move off my cutting mat. Put that on there. Now you notice I'm not ironing that in there, I'm just pressing. And there it is. There we have our perfect points all the way through, and we'll make up as much as this as we need to go between the blocks. So remember, those notes will have the amount of each thing that you need to cut. So that's why you need to download notes for each of the sessions, each of the episodes that we're putting up for you, because all that information is in there. And collate it together into a folder, because it's going to be like a little book when you're finished. It'll be like your little own handbook, because I would hope that you'll put your own instructions in there as you go through. So there's my set of flying geese made up. So let's just iron these. You can notice how I've got the back press, that I've pressed all the seams coming up to the point, because I find that presses much easier. Do that little bit of getting the first couple of points lined up exactly. And like, I could work all the way across here and finger press this myself as I go, but when I'm doing a big long strip, that's too hard. So that's why we want you to use the sasher tools. Come back to this point. Now we don't want to cut the points off, we want to keep them even. So we'll just, and with doing this little small one, when I worked out the measurements and everything, I felt I didn't need it to come right back into the centre here. That was not necessary. So you will find that it doesn't come back to the centre, but just make sure you match those points down here. Pop it into the 2-inch sasher tool. Like, if you have trouble threading it through, these are a great little tool, 6-finger stiletto. They're just so handy, and you'll see at the sewing machine when you look at that lesson how often I use this at the sewing machine. It's absolutely brilliant. So we normally pin that into the ironing surface, and I don't know whether I've got any pins here. I don't, missed them. So you're just going to push this, and you'll notice that without the pinning I get nowhere. So let me get some pins and pop in here, and I'll show you how I iron that section. So I've got my pins now, so I'm going to put one double pin on one side, one double pin on this side, and then all we're going to do is just keep an eye on things, and as you get to those seams you will have to tap the tool with the iron to get it across those bulky seams. But that's how we're going to do it, and just keep moving it down till you get those points matching perfect. Oops, I'm a bit off there. Sometimes if you find with something like this it wants to spring open again, I'd normally have a water bottle, a misty water bottle, and I may just put spray a little bit of water on it to settle the fabric down a bit better so that it holds its creases for me. Oops, get this out. And there we have all of our points matching. So that's how I make up the miniature flying geese. You never know where you might want to use these, but give it a go, because I know you can do it. I think you would have advanced on enough now to have the confidence. Remember, a little tip, when using the templates, make sure that the 1/4 inch seam that you take is exactly the 1/4 inch of the template. Your ruler may be a bit different in the 1/4 inch, your 1/4 inch foot may be a bit different. This is the measurement you should be taking back. So put this, and you'll see this in that previous video, put this under the foot of your machine. And I'm using an open toe foot, I'm not using a 1/4 inch foot. Put the edge of the foot up against the edge of the template and put your needle down in that hole. Your needle should go right in the middle of that hole. If it doesn't, move your needle position over so it does. Now when you sew the seam along here, when you're sewing these together, you're going to get that perfect 1/4 inch. That's going to make these points all come out perfect. You just need to be accurate with the measurements aligning from the ruler or the template that you use. I design my own rulers now because I want my measurements to be accurate with everything else I use. So my 1/4 inch of my ruler is exactly the same 1/4 inch as my template. So I know that whatever ruler I pick up and whatever template I pick up, I have everything accurate. So that's just a few little tips, but a lot more are coming to you. We'll be bringing you a lot more tips. But next episode, it's going to get very exciting because we're going to start trimming your blocks back and we're going to start joining together, and then we've got to do a little bit of applique. We've got a few more things to go. Then towards the end, we're going to be quilting your borders and joining them to the quilt, and then all we've got to do is bind them. So there's quite a few more episodes to go, but we want to take it step by step so you can enjoy the journey of making the exquisite quilt, learning as much as you can to turn any one of your quilts into a quilt as you go quilt. So till we see you next time, happy quilting, enjoy the KISS system, because I know you can do it. So bye for now.